Awesome. You're live on Facebook and YouTube. Awesome. I see a couple of people are already starting to hop on. We're just waiting for Facebook to alert everybody that we're on here so we can get kicked off and started.
Looks like our usual suspects, Wayne, Peter, Parker, all the troublemakers.
They are already tuned in. We didn't lose them with the new year, that's for sure.
Yeah, start talking about Dave, Dave Carpenter, he shows up.
Oh, well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for hopping on to our broadcast today. Happy 2021. So excited for the new year, fresh new page into all of our lives, really. So if you are hopping back on here with us, welcome back. Thank you for staying engaged with us all through the last several months, for sharing this out to your network and letting people know of the resources that we offer through the chamber, including these live broadcasts, of course, that we kick off on a weekly basis with the mayor. Now, if this is your very first time onto our page, I do hope that you come back to us in the future. Please be sure that you hit the like button, you hit the notification so you can get alerted when we go live. It also saves me the time of having to share out, and you get this awkward pause whenever we kick off the program for the day. But anyways, follow us here on Facebook. We are also streaming this at the very same time on our YouTube channel, Westminster Chamber of Commerce. And feel free to engage with us on all of our social media platforms at Westy Chamber on Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, where we post different content relative to the audience that's there. Now, several of you are already tuned on here with us. I see with us our current board chairman, Peter Brissett, our past chair, Brian Dice. I also see Councilor Scully, Dave Carpenter, Parker Brown. I'm going to start pulling up these comments, and I'm doing this, one, to give you some shout out and recognition, and two, to familiarize everyone else with this amazing function that you have. Now, you see Wayne Anderson, he's tuned in with our YouTube channel, and he's sharing a quick good morning message our way. Feel free to comment any pleasantries you might have, any good morning notes like we have from our current board chairman, Peter Brissett, or if you have any comments or additional questions that you have on any of the content that the mayor provides our way, please be sure to also type that in. On occasion, we have other people that bring in questions outside of what we discuss, so feel free to use this time to ask any questions that you have. Most of the time, our mayor does have an answer, even if it's just completely out of field. But if it's something that we require a lot more detail on, we will come back to you with that information. So Parker Brown, thank you so much for hopping on to this broadcast as well. I also see a good morning message both to the mayor and myself from Dave Carpenter, Councilor Scully. Thank you guys for hopping on to the broadcast and engaging with us on this beautiful Monday morning. Tara, I also see you on here with us. Good morning to you. So Mayor, I know we have some great news that we want to share with people, and then some other news that we want to try and help clarify, massage, and maybe pick the brains of others in the room. So I will mute myself and allow you the opportunity to get started. I'll type up as much of what I catch and gather from you into the comment section, but please feel free to share with us that message.
All right. Well, good morning, Juliet. Nice seeing you back. And everyone, welcome to a new year. Unfortunately, some of the new year is the same stuff from last year, but we will try to get past that eventually. Let me start off with just a few things. I'm going to talk about the COVID numbers first, and then we're going to talk about the 5-star program, vaccines, and a few other things this morning. So for the first of the year, there's a lot to talk about. Let me talk about first City Council. Council tonight is a short, very short agenda, only 2 items, COVID update and one other one, and that's on the study session. So no public input tonight, and I would like to be out by midnight. So Catherine Scully, I depend on you to make sure we're out by midnight. So let's talk about some numbers from COVID. So this is the first group of numbers is from Wednesday of last week. Adams County was at 638.6 with a 9.8 positivity rate. Jeffco last Wednesday was 469.2 with a 5.9 positivity rate. So now let's turn to this morning. Today, Adams County is at 606.7, which means the positivity rate went down. I'm sorry, the infection numbers went down. However, positivity rate went up to 10.3. Let's go to Jeffco. This morning, the infection rate is 394.8, positivity rate 5.6. And Jeffco, both sets of numbers went down. So that's good from there. So last week, we have starting a new tradition of how we notify government is going on. Last year, the big method was Twitter. This year, and the latter part of last year, is now turned to Facebook. So we have some things that went on last week that caused a lot of angst. One of those was the move by the governor on the dial of taking all red counties to orange. However, the governor didn't tell anybody, including his own staff, that he was doing that, which caused monumental confusion with CDPHE. There was also the announcement last week by the governor that he was opening up vaccines to all of those 70 and above, which was over 1 million people. The vaccine groups, our hospitals, the health groups, nobody had any warning that that was going to happen. So nobody had programs set up to take care of these additional people. Plus, we don't have the vaccines, according to CDPHE. And we met with them as late as New Year's Eve in the afternoon, and they were totally stymied. So everyone is trying to scramble now to figure out how they're going to set up programs that didn't exist last Thursday to start inoculating a much higher number of people. Folks, that program is not in place. The health departments are still trying to figure it out and how they're going to handle the vaccines and getting the additional vaccines to these distribution centers. So stay tuned to that. A huge number of people have been added. The health departments, the hospitals were overcome with calls from people in the 70 and above group that wanted to know when they could get their shot, and they just didn't have answers for them. 5-star program. Thursday afternoon at about 5 o'clock, Jefferson County got the letter approving them for the 5-star program. However, because of the variance that's in there between what the governor said they were going to do and what CDPH is going to do, again, has caused another conflict. Let me try to make this out as comfortable as I can. The governor mandated to CDPHE to move all red counties last week, effective today, to orange level. You go back to the same numbers you had before. Orange is 50 people or 25%, whichever is the smaller number for our restaurants. You go back to indoor dining. You still have the 10 o'clock curfew. So here we are now with a system that's in place. But if you are in the 5-star program, Q, here's where the first bump came in. Because we got such late notice on it, and because CDPHE says, even though you have been moved by the governor to orange status, in order to go to yellow, which was what the 5-star program was set up for, the county has to be in the orange numbers. Well, neither one of our counties are in the orange numbers. 3 things: the infection rate, the positivity number, and hospitalization. All 3 of those have to come into the level that you are at. Technically, we are still in red numbers. Jeffco, you're very close to getting into orange numbers, which if that happens, and it's a 2-week average of being in the orange numbers, then if the members of the 5-star program that have been approved, they could then go to yellow status. But you have to be at that 2-week number, and you have to have the numbers to show that you're in orange status. And Peter, I'll come back to your comment about UC Health in a minute. So that is still a piece that has to go through. Because of the change that what the governor said putting us into orange status and what CDPHE is interpreting to be the number you have to reach, Jeffco will not start the inspections that they were scheduled to start last Saturday until tomorrow, based upon what the county manager told us on Thursday. What's driving that is that he has to go in and retrain to what the explanation will be to those who get visits from the inspectors of what orange status versus 5-star status will mean until we get into that 2-week number of being in orange status with our 3 criteria. And then we could look at the yellow. We're not there. We're getting close, but you have to keep in mind that we're going to do that. Jeffco is still planning to do the inspections. The last numbers I had of the people who are in the queue is just over 400. It's going to take time to get to all those restaurants. It's going to take time to make sure that we're in a 2-week cycle of being in the orange numbers, which then potentially would allow the 5-star participants to go to yellow. The big difference is just the number of people you can have in your businesses. You still have to comply with it. Adams County, that application to go to a 5-star program for Adams County is planned to be submitted to the state on the 8th, which is Friday. On the 7th, the one remaining Tri-County Health order that is holding us up from being eligible will expire. So therefore, the day after the expiration, Adams County is scheduled to move to that new status of applying for the 5-star. That could take about a week getting to the state and getting a decision made and getting returned. However, Adams County is still at 606. So even though you go into red status, you're going to stay there for a while until that number gets to the 350 and the 5%. Don't look to go into orange. Don't look to go into yellow anytime in the immediate future. You're going to be in orange and you can open your restaurants and stuff back up under the orange status starting today, but not for the yellow. And you don't have any ability to apply in Adams County for the 5-star program until they submit to the state. And then we expect then to see something on their website telling you how you can start to do the pre-app applications as we saw in Jeffco. Between those two, the issue of not having a communication group at the state that was participating actively on the surface, it appears that they were not, that we're getting stuff out on Facebook that the state staff was not aware of coming out. It's causing a whole lot of confusion. It's causing a lot of angst between the health departments, the elected people, and others on what's the status and what can we really do. Mm-hmm. But I know one of the questions that come up is, when can we apply for the 5-star program? Well, in Jeffco, you can already do that.
Right.
But there's nothing on the Adams County side until they actually turn in an application that will let you start the pre-app. I'm not aware that there's anything on any websites in Adams County that lets you do a pre-apply. I'm still recommending that you go ahead and get your paperwork ready. You get ready so as soon as they open that up, you can get into the queue in Adams County. Mm-hmm. If you've already applied, you're in the queue in Jeffco. It's just a matter of time until they can get you scheduled for your inspections. I thoroughly encourage that you get in, because if we go back up, that still allows you to operate at another number. I'm trying to encourage you to do whatever you can that suits your business model to get as much of your business back open as possible. And I am looking forward to sitting down at the restaurant with my next bowl of lentil bean soup. I'll let you guess who that is.
Well,
he has promised it's going to be there.
I will interject quickly. I see Jason Gank is on here with us, and also Emilio. Jason had given us just a quick hello to you, Mayor. So I just wanted to pull that up our way. For those of you that are hopping onto our broadcast, which I see a number of you, please go ahead and give us a thumbs up. Give us a comment onto the video so that we know that you're tuned in with us. And let us know any comments or questions that you might have in general that you would like for us to touch on. The mayor has actually gone through a number of items. The first being that tonight is study session for the city council. that hopefully they'll have a shorter segment today. And just so you're aware, I'm going to let you know you can hold Counselor Scully accountable to this. She's going to try for that midnight marker alongside you. So thank you guys for serving. I know that often you are there past the midnight hour. It does not go unnoticed. And so they have study session this evening. No time for the public comment is not a part of that, but just so you all are aware. The mayor did then give us a nice overview of our numbers in terms of infection rate and positivity, like the case count that we have for both Adams and Jeffco. He actually pulled the numbers from last week as of Wednesday and then compared them to today, which I thought was great for you to do. It does show that we have a slight decrease in our numbers, with the exception on the ADCO side with that the positivity rate going up. That's a little bit interesting to see that because we've generally seen them both decline at the same time. That being said, we've captured those two numbers for you into the comment section of the broadcast. The mayor then walked us through the 5-star program, and this is a big nut to crack. And so I was trying my best to capture a lot of his comments into the comment section for you, but this is a program that we talked about, I want to say, over the last 2 weeks. Jeffco had been working both with our city, with other stakeholders, including the chamber and other entities, to make sure that we can develop some sort of a program that would allow our businesses to reopen in a safe manner and be able to operate their business in the environment that we're in. The mayor then did talk through how late last week, there was the announcement made that we are transitioning really all counties from the red to the orange. He is referencing that reel that we went into detail about with him, and what that is indicative of. It's usually factoring in those three items: the hospitalization, the infection, and positivity rate. He did a great job, and thank you so much. I was waiting to see how you would explain what the situation is and how we can best address that to people. So the number one thing that folks need to understand is that the 5-star program we're viewing as insurance, right? So even if we move into another part of the reel, this would always be something ideally below that. So you can always operate a little bit better than where we're at based on our case count. And then the current confliction, I would say, between what's going on right now and what has been announced is that our numbers don't necessarily put us into the color spectrum that we're in. And so we're not necessarily at that lower level of a yellow. So I hope that captured, summarized what the mayor had said a little bit for you. I've indicated it into the comment section. It's a little bit confusing, but we want to try and clarify that and clear that up. The mayor also did go in detail a little bit about what this means for a restaurant, having the 50 people or less in your indoor establishments, or 25%, whichever is fewer of the two. And he also went in detail on Jeffco has had a number of applicants. So thank you guys for applying. I know we had a number of them come from Westminster already that were interested in the 5-star program, nearly 400 of those applications already. So if you had not already viewed the broadcast from last week, that is when we talked about what does that queue mean? You know, who is in charge of that? Is there a committee that's overseeing it? All of that was included in our last broadcast with our mayor last week. So we did have a question come through, and Mayor, I know you may have seen this. It was from Peter. Peter is referencing about what's transpiring with the vaccine. So you shared with us that there were 2 comments that were made from our governor's office. The first being this transition for all of our counties into the orange. The second being that we are going to vaccinate our senior population, and that would amount to that about 1 million of those vaccines. And then there was this pushback that we don't have those on hand according to our state health departments. So Peter is hearing something, and this is probably news. He's read it somewhere. He's referencing it, and he's basically saying that he hears the CU health system had a surplus of vaccines and that they had wanted to use them and not send them back. So they asked the governor to open it back up. Do you know the validity of what he had read and looked into? Do we know additional feedback on this?
Peter, I can't confirm what you're telling me. I can only tell you that we were still trying to get through the hospitals and the groups that I talk to on a regular basis. We're still trying to get through that group 1A. They had not gotten into 1B, but our first responders and stuff, we were trying to see if there's an option to get them in sooner, which would have been prevalent. But I can't tell you for sure what CU Health is doing because that's primarily Denver. Mm-hmm. I've not heard anybody that has a surplus of vaccines. In fact, we're worried about, which many of you saw, that we had someone that spoiled 500 doses here in the country. I'm not sure. It may have been in the Denver market. It may have been in another state, but it's someone in a hospital or a pharmacy area spoiled 500 of those. So we don't know what's happening with that. I would just tell you there's a lot of conjecture, there's a lot of things you can find on social media right now that I would tell you needs to be verified. I can tell you, because I talked to one of the hospitals as late as this morning, they're doing everything they can to try to get their program put in place to handle these other groups. And we still have, on a nationwide basis, an issue with the distribution of vaccines into the areas where they can get to the hospitals and stuff. We are starting to see from the reports that we are starting to get it out into rural areas. But again, it has to be in the vaccine that doesn't have to be at a super cold temperature, because they don't have places for them. Marcel, you said it was Wisconsin that had the violation. I can't verify that one way or the other, but I thank you for the information anyway. But also, Peter, back into your other question, and I don't know of any place you could put in your pre-app in Adams County today, because they haven't even applied themselves. It doesn't mean you can't get it ready. I still recommend that you do if you're sitting in an Adams County business. Get your paperwork in place, get it all together. So when it comes time, it's a matter of hit the send button. But you're going to have to wait until they open up something. I have a meeting with part of the Jeffco group on Wednesday. We will see where they're at about them still planning to submit on Friday. I'm not aware that they're going to be any sooner than Friday, because they really have to wait till that order from Tri-County Health expires on Thursday before they would even be eligible to submit. So let's don't jump the gun too much. We know it's got to expire on the 7th. We know that they're planning to do it on the 8th. I fully anticipate that the county will apply for the 5-star program as soon as possible. But let's try to keep it down to where we think on the best information we have that we can verify. But other than that, I would just tell you, if you're in Jeffco and you haven't applied and you're interested in it, get your numbers in. Because with 400 or plus having to get through the inspection rate, as far as I know, it is one company doing all the inspections, the company called Safe Built, that was contracted by Jefferson County. Whether or not Adams County will follow that same thing and trying to use a company to go out, I have not heard. Hopefully we'll have an update on Wednesday.
Terrific. Thank you so much for those 2 questions, Peter. It was a lot of great dialogue. And Joe Marcel, thank you for hopping in. I also see Diana, our past chairman, Brian Head, and Nusheen. Good morning to you all. Thank you guys for hopping onto our broadcast with us. Just pulling up the quick good morning message from Brian to everyone that's on here as well. So thank you, Mayor, for going in detail on that and reemphasizing that, even if the ADCO has not opened up the application portion, because they have not submitted. And we really went in detail about the reasoning behind that. ADCO has been, I would say, one of the top most responsive on trying to provide resources and listen to the business community during this time. It was kind of the situation of that order that they had in place and expediting that so it expires a little bit sooner so that they can process and move forward with a 5-star type of program. So as soon as the details of that are released with the mayor, I know he does a great job in sending me the information via email, so I can get that. I'll get that live on our website. I'll comment back to our video on here. And of course, we'll go in detail on Monday. Between now and then, obviously, if anything does transpire. But as he has shared, we're not sure if ADCO is going to do similar things as Jeffco has as it relates to the 5-star program, whether it's the administration behind it or what things you might need to have. But it is a great reference point for you as a business that might want to submit in the future to just kind of pull that application, see some of the information that you may need to have. So that way you're ready and set. I don't know how we're going to move forward with those things, but when he does mention that it is one company that's handling those, the checking in and going in there to make sure that those businesses are doing their part and everything, it's obviously better for you to have your application in, the sooner the better. So just have your information on hand, have it ready. To that end, I know we talked about this right before we hopped on the broadcast. A lot of people have indicated that their stimulus has already hit. So hopefully whoever was really waiting on that or wanted to know or had that question, that is starting to hit people's accounts already, if I'm not mistaken, over the last couple of days already. Information about the PPP program we will include in our future broadcasts coming up. So those of you that might be interested in that as well, if you have any additional questions, you can ask us as you would like on that. Mayor, what information do we have as far as, I know we talked about the testing sites closing at the MAC at Front Range. We shared that last week. You've provided me with a number of resources and links in our community, and I will place that onto our COVID resource page and get it out to folks. But is there anything that we should be aware of as it relates to our testing sites or anything of that nature that we want people to know about?
We're still waiting on confirmation from CDPHE if they're going to move forward with the one that we've been trying to put together here on the north end of Jeffco. Keep in mind, we don't have anything north of I-70 that has a test site. We're still trying to work through that. I know the city manager and his staff are in regular contact with CDPHE. We just don't have the final recognition of that. To your point is there's a huge list that I provided to Juliet over the weekend of places you can go for services. It's too hard to put all of that into the chat site. So I think she's going to put one link up that you can go to in the chat program, which will take you to the chamber website. If there's any place you think you need assistance, that list is pretty extensive. If you try to go to there, it may give you some of the programs. Stimulus, you're absolutely correct. I've heard from a number of people just today that those $600 or $1,200 checks, depending upon your situation, have started to hit the people's bank accounts. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you anything about the business side. I haven't heard any about those. One of the things that I was talking about this morning through Congressman Perlmutter's office is the food assistance programs. Some of the stuff that's come out in the stimulus we were hoping would help our Wednesday night market night. Right now, that does not look like it's going to help us. So we may have, last week may have been our last week. I haven't heard from staff this morning, but we were still trying to find if we could find some way to keep that going on because of the sheer number of people that are in need of food. We'll try to get an update to that probably tonight when we did our COVID updates. So we'll not have been extended, but at least on the federal stimulus package, that does not look like it's going to help us, but we do have some contacts that came into us this morning from the Congressman's office that we're going to reach out to over the next day or two to see if there's anything that they've got wind of that may help us to extend this program. But for right now, to the best of my knowledge, sitting here right now at this time, last Wednesday was the last night that was funded. We're going to continue to look for opportunities where we can. As everybody understands, our CARES dollars monies expired last week. At the end of December, we had to have all that spent and documented. So we still have all the documentation that has to be submitted and verified so that we make sure we met the mark on all that. So that'll happen over the next few weeks. Other than that, there's not a lot of new information other than what I've given you this morning. What I will tell you is if you have questions, get them to Juliet. I will try to get her answers as much as I can, as soon as we can. Just be patient. Things are changing. It's not any different than last year. It's by the hour, by the day. We have not seen any reports this morning of major surges anywhere in our COVID numbers. But again, 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes 4. We're past the Christmas holiday. We're slowly passing New Year's just last week. This week and next week, if we're going to see a surge, that would be our first indicators that we're going to see those numbers jump back up. If we do, how big will they be? How will the state interpret those numbers? And will that slow down the moves from the red to orange or orange back to red? It's just too early to make those. We need to get actual data in order to have some decisions made. Other than that, we welcome you to 2021. We hope to see a bright and shining new year. Things are changing, but they're not changing as fast. This week is going to be very interesting in Washington of all the activities that are planned there. Our new Congress was sworn in yesterday. It was nice to see the Congress was working over the weekend, just like some of the rest of us do, to try to keep things going. But a lot of activities and unfortunately some that we expect disruptions of going on this week. Be patient. Let's get through this next week or two and let's see where the world's headed. Hopefully into a better light than we did last year.
I hope so, and I know everyone is trying to move together. And if nothing else that you get out of this broadcast is there's a lot of moving parts, but we're all really focused to try and make sure that it's an effort that we're moving in the same direction. We're trying to clarify any miscommunication that goes out there and seek as much questions and clarifications as possible for you all, our community and our constituents. So thank you so much, Mayor, for that. And, let's hope and pray that the numbers continue to reflect that we are all doing our part, that we're being conscious if we're not feeling well, if we are forced to travel or do other things, that we're still making sure that the health and well-being of those around us is first and foremost. I also see, Peter, you've put in a nice paragraph as it relates to EIDL and the PPP. Peter is connected with the SBA office and has worked significantly on that effort the last two times that it had opened up last year. So if you're interested in more information about that, it is in the comment section of this broadcast view. But I do hope that the rest of you enjoy an amazing day. If you end up watching this broadcast later on, give us that hashtag replay so we know that you tuned into it. And if you watched it with us along the way, thank you so much for staying with us from the start to the finish. It was very jam-packed with information at the start, but I think it's some great information in comparison to some of what we've heard before in the past. So please share this out to others. There's a lot of information that is circulating on the internet, whether it's different tweets or Facebook posts or articles, etc. And we just want to make sure that the most accurate is what people are hearing and seeing. So thank you guys for tuning into the broadcast. Mayor, thank you for being on here with us on a weekly basis. I look forward to visiting with you again soon. And I hope your study session ends at a reasonable hour.
It's all up to Catherine Scully.
Exactly. The weight is on you, Catherine. Thank you so much, Parker, for tuning in.